general circulation, one newspaper. And this is not a specific requirement of the law. All you have to do is do it within 90 days, or the Board of Supervisors takes over the task.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of the urgency or the timeliness in terms of the juxtaposition to the election, I think, Mr. Hayes has a point.
Okay.
So if you run it for, depends on when you can get it in, and then if you want to go ahead, there's a couple items here you're going to postpone anyway, so you could tonight set a special meeting in the future that would, anticipate that these things would get done.
Okay, advertise it for a week, and have a special meeting in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to advertise for a week, have a special meeting in 2 weeks, which will be
From tonight.
Yeah. So, that would be the July, July 4th.
1 week is June 28th, so it'll be July 5th.
That ain't gonna work. How about the Monday, that Monday?
The 2nd
Yeah.
or the 9th? The 9th actually puts it out just over 2 weeks. It's
Let's do it the
about
9th.
17 days.
Let's do it tonight.
Monday the 9th?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good for you. Anything but the 9th? About the 10th? Good. On 10th? You good?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and do a motion and,
Okay.
Motion to advertise for a week and have a special meeting on the 10th.
Of July.
Yes, of July.
6 p.m. again?
So we'll need an advertisement, yeah, 6 p.m. we'll need them to be received by the 9th. Yeah, close the business.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and second to advertise the interest for board appointment for 1 week, and then have a special meeting on July 10th at 6 p.m. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then we have item F is board workshop and orientation and formulation of bylaws. This is placed on the agenda at the request of Mr. Hayes, at least as it applies to new bylaws. Charlotte's working on the draft of the bylaws, and also feels we need to have a refresher course, which I think would be a good idea, on a number of issues facing us, such as open meeting law, conflicts of interest, board duties and limitations. And we'll throw it out there and see if you guys think about doing like an orientation.
That's a good way to go. That's a good idea.
Okay. When you're looking at Charlotte,
Just say,
is that like
you would be part of that, correct?
yes,
that's gonna be open to the public also?
I probably, would be the thing of it, yeah.
That's gonna be open to the public also?
Yes.
And I believe I saw some bylaws, we have bylaws, we just have to review them.
Policy.
Well, no, we had what they called board policy, but the preferred, and if you remember, there was a discussion maybe 2 years ago, where there was a board member who said, why don't we have bylaws instead of a policy? And I've always thought that, and also in the AFTA process, they seem to, that seems to be the accepted way to do it. And you can do a couple of combinations of things, like a board policy statement and a code of ethics, and then the bylaws, which would be the more technical aspects of how you want to operate. So
So do we need a time frame to do that, or?
yeah, I don't know how, I'm thinking this would be at least an hour that we need.
About how long?
In a month's time, I think we do a month, 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. You want,
And I suggest that we don't do it at the same time as a regular meeting, that we do just dedicate the evening or whatever time to that particular endeavor.
10th of July would be too soon to combine it with that, because that probably will not take very long.
well, I could at least, I could at least probably have, the refresher course, and probably a draft of some alternatives.
Our next regular meeting is July 19th, like just a couple hours ahead of our regular meeting,
Oh, I could do that.
and then everybody's already gonna be here
I
on the
like
third
that
anyway.
idea. Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
So like at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, 4 in the afternoon on the, 4 on the, and what date was the regular meeting again?
It's July 19th.
I think that'll work, yeah. Okay. So, probably need the board's
Need a
direction
motion?
on that, with a motion in a second.
Okay.
Well, I move that we have a board workshop orientation formulation of bylaws and again, what would you call the conflict of interest and transparency zone?
Right.
Magic words for that. On the next meeting, that could come at 4 o'clock and the meeting start at 6 on the 19th of July.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to have Charlotte, I guess, basically go ahead with the board workshop and orientation, formulation of bylaws. And the meeting to take place, or the event to take place on July 19th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 hours before our regular meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? And that carries. And now item G is July AFTA conference and 2018 AFTA handbook. We need to let admin know who among us wants to attend the AFTA conference in Phoenix. That's not if anybody wants to go.
Do you have a date, Joe?
Actually, have you seen the site of AFTA, to know what it is, where it is?
We meant, yeah, we meant to look that up, but we need to.
You're required to take the training within 1 year, right?
Yeah.
Right, but the one,
Well, that's-
the AFT conference in the summer is in Phoenix, and in the winter, which is usually in January, is in Laughlin. Has been in the past, so, you can either do it this summer or, next year. There's also
That's
a
an
new,
easy choice.
Yeah, especially with the election.
That also depends on elections as well.
so, and that's part of why I kind of thought we ought to have a workshop so that we could cover some of those things. And what I would like to do is get, there's a 2018 version of the AFTA, what we call Red Book, handbook, and that I'd like to get, and so that you all can have those too. So maybe that would be suffice, instead of doing it this summer, do it next January.
Is that new red book out now?
I can.
Is that new red book out now?
It is on the website, but I don't have the, our password to get into it. So, we'll have to find that.
Okay. So you gave Tim direction to check on the dates? Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay, now is the time for the call to the public. The district may, but is not required to give the public an opportunity to speak to any issue. Each individual who wishes to speak during this portion of the meeting must identify themselves for the record by clearly stating his or her name and address, and shall be limited to one opportunity to speak for no more than 2 minutes. Members of the board shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during call to the public. Any board comment must be reserved for the conclusion of the call to the public, and be limited to directing staff to place an item on a future meeting agenda, or to report back to the board in writing, or to briefly respond to criticisms made by those who have addressed the public body. Anybody who wants to speak? But, name and address also, please.
Michael Boone, 901 North Lake Havasu Boulevard in Havasu, California. Arizona License Investigator 161-9224. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I heard him talk about 2600 Northern. As of yesterday, there has been no occupancy permit issued for that building. And in looking at the notes actually say, they said that they were not gonna kick you out, but they did not approve it to be used for storage. The words were, we're not gonna kick you out, but they never gave you permission to store anything there. Additionally, they said you need a licensed engineer. You checked with the state, Brad Scheffler is not a licensed engineer. That was the problem the last time when he went down there. One of the reasons it was kicked back. So, that's that. Additionally, there was a newspaper article by Mr. Bailey saying that all these governmental agencies have canceled their cases, closed their cases, or exonerated you. Oh, that's not gonna take up my 2 minutes. Okay, Mr. Collins put an ad in, or an article in the paper about all these legal cases have been closed, these investigations. Unless you got a letter of exoneration, I've checked with every one of those agencies that I knew of, the Attorney General, Yalapai, or however you can pronounce it, and now the FBI has it. None of those people have closed anything because I was submitting reports, statements, and declarations as of yesterday. So I don't know where that come from, and if you have some letters of exoneration, I asked for them in the public records request, and the names of the people that you've allegedly spoken to. Ms. Wells, I have an email from you and Mr. Bailey where you guys were corresponding back and forth prior to your appointment. So if you're acting as his legal counsel prior to this appointment, do you, and I got that letter through public records request. You're actually his personal lawyer, and did you give him any conflict, or this board of conflicts letter about those meetings and conversations you had with Mr. Bailey? Or if those were board related, I think you got a problem with an open meeting issue, but that'll be resolved later. And finally, through the Records Act, I got a copy of Mr. Hayes' resume, and he says everything's true on it. And real quick, do you know anybody at the founder, multi-year president of San Diego Airports Advisory Committee?
Do I know anybody?
Yes.
There's no, wait, you have to wait.
All right, well, here, I'll take, if you know anybody there, because they don't know you, and also a member of the legislative representatives of San Diego chapter of the aircraft, they went back 22 years, and the last time you were a member of that organization was 1992, and I got that from the local San Diego representative, and I also got it from the gal that's accountant and been the accountant for 30 years. So I guess you're not current members of those, huh?
We'll wrap it up also.
Okay, that's it. I will not take your time.
Anybody else want to speak?
I want to speak, Arthur Garnick, attorney number 2 East Packard, in Arizona. I'm a resident of the district. Where I start? Well, I'll start with the truth. The truth is, a fire chief cannot get us in debt, because all he do is direct you guys in the guidance of doing something. You guys are the board members, you guys are the ones that decide where the money goes, so it's mainly up to the board to get in debt. Another thing I was gonna say, but he spoke on it, was, I remember you speaking on a letter from Ms. Charlotte Wells, your personal attorney. I think it's a conflict of interest though. And if you're gonna say she wasn't your attorney, then did she do it for a favor to get on the board to be the attorney? So, we got that. And then I also brought the paperwork to Timmy saying that Carl Hayes is not a resident of the fire district, and he called the cops on me, made a report. You made a report on me when I was going to my insurance, paying my car insurance. And I got a letter from the lady, so I went down there and took it down there. You said I was stalking you. How was that when your car was behind my car? So, I got proof that you're not a resident, so you shouldn't be on our board. You're legally on our board, and I think it's a conflict of interest with you two being, you're being his personal attorney and not being on the board. Thank you.
I'll go first.
I haven't been in San Diego in quite a few years, and I haven't been a very active member since about 1994, because I had too much business going. But all of that is true. And the Airport Advisory Committee, I don't even know that it still exists, but none of the people that I was involved with, or the managers back in the 80s and the 70s, are there. So if you can't find anything, it doesn't mean anything to me. That's the truth.
Can I respond to that?
No.
And then also, Charlotte is not my personal attorney, and she never has been. And at a board meeting, we actually decided that Wayne Everett was supposed to contact Charlotte and get information that we had requested, and that was never done. So when I called her and asked her if that was done, it had not been done, so I asked her if she could do that. That's why that actually happened like it was. She was not acting on my behalf, she was acting on the board's behalf. Nope, you can't speak. Then, on your action as far as like coming into the office and yelling at our staff and stuff, that's not gonna be tolerated. And that's why you were trespassed or given a warning for trespass. And then as far as like you thinking I'm stalking you, I have no interest, I don't care what you do. I don't look for you, I don't care what you do. And you're saying I'm following you around?
That's enough.
I've got a receipt from the restaurant there where I was in there for an hour eating lunch. So if you have a video of me pulling out of there, it's like I'll show you my receipt for my lunch in there. I was in there for an hour. So your video taken of me, like as I'm driving away down the street, is more hogwash. So that's all I have to say about that. Okay, it's time for board member comments and announcements. Direction to staff, requested reports, agenda items for future meetings. Anybody has anything?
I think moving forward on this department, we need to, Chief King, if you can reevaluate our, what's the word I'm looking for? Capital improvements, yes, we need to identify all our capital improvement items so that we can have a year, or an idea moving forward, the most important ones. So if you can do that. And I'd also like to put on there, just like Mr. Boone stated, I'd like if you could reach out to registered engineers around in the community, outside the community, or just, well, I guess we'd have to go before the board. On the next meeting, we'd have to,
Actually, we're aware that we need engineer stamps on any
well, what I'm asking is if we can solicit proposals, but I think we'd have to do that in front of the board.
Well,
I think-
Brad has a working relationship with an engineer and can get engineers.
Well, I think it should go out to bid personally.
Okay.
I'd like to see it go out to bid.
And I think what probably is the best solution there is just that we're gonna bring that subject back, the updates on that whole subject of 2600 and the progress that's being made.
And then, while we're on this, can I ask one question of Mr. Boone? Is that something that's, can I do that, Charlotte?
No,
Okay.
On the issue of the building, really, you don't want the engineer until you've got to the point where you know what you want. Then he can tell you whether you can do it or you can't do it, or you might have to change it some.
Well, there's a set of plans out there that have the preliminaries.
Yeah, and
So we've got those, and if we can find those and then take them out to an engineer and let
I mean,
them
if everybody's still happy with that, then that would be the way to go.
move
Sure.
forward on it, yeah.
Sure.
and also there is, at least in the state procurement for professional services, to some extent, if it's not a design build, but you're talking about just an engineer, that you can do that with quotes. You don't have to do a formal bidding process if it's going to be under $100,000.
Oh, for the fees for the engineer?
Right,
Under 100,000?
right,
Okay.
right, yep.
That's all I got.
Good. Okay, next one also is to adjourn. We have a motion and second to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye.